Does somebody want to tell me what the hell we witnessed on Sunday? The Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Buffalo Bills without scoring a touchdown. Denver's up 30-0 on the Dallas Cowboys. The Titans, without Derrick Henry, smoked the Rams. And that's just scratching the surface. It was seriously one of the wildest weeks we've seen in a while. But we still did pretty well on our starts. I mean, not Cortland Sutton. That dude stung. And I just guess I didn't anticipate the fact that they would be up by 5 scores. But it is what it is. We move on. And we mostly did pretty solid last week. So we're going to try and run it back again for week 10. Maybe get a little bit less unpredictability for this one. It's a great week with some amazing matchups, but as you know, we don't just hit on the top guys here. We're looking for the good plays that you can flex, that you can use as streamers, the ones that you're going to need to actually win your league, not the guys you're already starting every week. I'm no use to you in that case. I'm Dave Loughran, though. Happy to be with you. Do another video here. Make it a quick one, as we do every single week. Get you started for week 10. Must starts for the week. Let's dive into it. Oh, and before we do, hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. It's greatly appreciated. Helps us combat the YouTube overlords here hanging over our heads with that pesky algorithm. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Hit that thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of these picks this week and who you have as some must starts for week 10. Let's dive into it. There's been a lot of talk about Josh Jacobs losing work to Kenyon Drake last week and possibly moving forward. I'm not buying it though. I talked in last week's video about how Derek Gore's emergence was likely overblown after the game against the Giants, and like clockwork, Darrell Williams came out and had 22 touches. Now, Drake is actually a legitimate NFL player, but his expanded workload was likely the result of Las Vegas looking to tie the game up in the fourth quarter, where Drake saw 6 of his 8 targets on the game. Jacobs still carried the ball 13 times in the loss and caught all 4 of his targets, while running only 8 fewer routes than Drake and out-touching him by 9 carries on the ground. So take Sunday night's upcoming matchup against the Chiefs, whose offense has been more than stagnant lately, averaging 12 points per game over the last 3 weeks. I really can't believe I'm even saying this, but I really love this game script for Jacobs. Kansas City's coughing up 4.7 yards per carry and 10 rushing touchdowns this season. They're a bottom 3 ranked run defense on PFF and should see a heavy dose of Jacobs. The Raiders are only 2.5-point home dogs. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they were favored given Mahomes' inexplicable ineptitude as a passer lately, and they could find themselves in a position to feed Jacobs with 20-plus touches. I'm feeling good about him this week. Devin Singletary is a speculative play, but one to keep on your radar if he's on your bench or even on the waiver heading into week 10. Zach Moss is on the concussion protocol after an early exit in Sunday's embarrassing loss to the Jaguars. So if he isn't able to clear the league's 5-step protocol in order to play this week, Singletary could legitimately be in for a 3-down workload in a mouth-watering matchup against the Jets. Singletary saw his highest snap count since week 1, when Moss was a healthy and active. And he'd see the large majority of opportunities this week if he's the lead back in Buffalo. The Bills have an implied total north of 30 points, and while Singletary's averaging a rushing touchdown, get this, per every 76 carries for his career, and that's not a joke, he's still a skilled pass catcher who should see at least 15 total looks on one of the most explosive offenses in football, or at least they were until last week. And let's be fair to Singletary. He's averaging 4.8 yards per carry for his career, and he's a very capable spot starter on any given week. The Jets have surrendered 100-plus rushing yards in 7 of 8 games and are coming off of a week where they allowed 260 yards on the ground to the Colts. And in case you're wondering, no team has allowed more receiving yards to opposing running backs this season than the Jets. That bodes well for Singletary. Here's the craziest part, though, and this is not a misquote. The Jets are allowing 40 PPR points per game to running backs. Enough said. Just a quick heads up to keep an eye on Brandon Bolden this week if you need a spot starter at running back. Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson went down with head injuries in Week 9's beatdown of the Panthers. If they're inactive for Week 10, Bolden could be in line for a lot of work. The matchup against Cleveland leaves plenty to be desired, but you have to figure Bolden would be used plenty as a pass catcher out of the backfield, and he already leads the Patriots backfield with 24 targets on the year. He saw a season-high 47% of snaps on Sunday and carried the rock 8 times. Bolden would very likely be the top dog on Sunday if Harris and Stevenson, who are both currently in the NFL's concussion protocol, remain out. And if Stevenson is able to play but Harris remains out, he'd be the guy. So monitor this situation for sure. It's funny to think about how many people wanted to write off George Kittle after the first few weeks of the season. But here we are heading into week 10, and Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, TJ Hawkinson, Kyle Pitts, and more have all been spotty from week to week. Kelce's been insanely quiet in recent weeks. Waller's target share is down considerably from early in the season. Hawkinson's on a pure shit offense, and Pitts has 2 20-plus fantasy point games sandwiched in between 4 single-digit performances. So yeah, Kittle looks pretty good. It was suggested by Kyle Shanahan last week that Kittle could be limited in his return from a 3-week hiatus, but he ended up playing 73% of snaps, ran a route on 70% of quarterback dropbacks, and recorded a team-high 101 yards on 6 receptions, 8 targets, and a touchdown. And in the 2 weeks before his injury, Kittle was peppered with 19 targets and was on the field for almost 100% of the snaps. That's pretty encouraging. Honestly, I think Kittle could end up being a league winner over the second half of the season, especially with how inconsistent so many of these high-end tight ends have been of late. But ultimately, I like this matchup against the Rams quite a bit. San Francisco's going to need to throw, and with LA having some of the best coverage against wide receivers in the league, it opens up a lot for tight ends. They've allowed the 2nd most targets, 3rd most receptions, and 7th most yards to tight ends on the year, so Kittle should be in line to eat on Monday night. My God, what a pitiful performance from the Cowboys on Sunday. And things were much worse than the final box score might have suggested, given that Dallas was trailing 30-0 at home in the 4th quarter before Dak Prescott threw 2 garbage time touchdowns to Malik Turner. But still, you have to go back to the well with Amari Cooper this week. He's been extremely hit or miss this season, and his best game since week 1 actually came with Cooper Rush at the helm. But the Cowboys have a week-high 32-point implied total on Sunday, facing a Falcons team that's coughing up a 6% passing touchdown rate to opposing quarterbacks and is dead last in football with only 11 sacks. Dak Prescott was returning from a 1-week absence and was clearly not himself, but that hasn't affected his projection for week 10, nor should it. While Cooper only has a 21% target share this season, he's still on a top 5 offense with a quarterback whose 18 passing touchdowns are 5th in football despite only playing 7 games. It's been a tough season week to week for Cooper, but benching him on a week where Dallas could explode seems ill-advised. If you love fantasy football and you haven't played daily fantasy football yet, well, I got an amazing offer for you. And my only hesitation in telling you this is that you're just going to stop watching my videos here on this channel. But that's cool. You can head over to our main channel, the DFS one, and well, we'll be square. But check this out. If you sign up for Yahoo Fantasy as a new user, got to be a new user, using the link below in the description and deposit just $10 or more if you'd like, but only has to be $10. You will get 1 full free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That's everything on the site. And it's not just football, baseball, basketball, hockey, PGA, MMA, NASCAR, even esports. If they have contests out there, we've got content for it. And all of the tools you need to win at Yahoo as well. Ownership projections, player projections, top stack tool, boom bust tool, the lineup builder, and so much more, all of which are built by the #1 ranked DFS player out there, Awesemo himself, won millions of dollars using these very tools I'm talking about right now. So check it out. Go to Yahoo, sign up using the link in the description, deposit $10 or more. They will send their information over to us, and we will email you with the steps to get your free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum and $90 value. You got to check DFS out. You're going to love it. And well, you can use all of the tools on the site. And of course, follow along every single day of the week with our DFS content on the Awesemo YouTube channel as well. Check it out. Link in the description below. We'll see you over there. Marvin Jones has been a casualty of his own offense this season, specifically his rookie quarterback. But if there was ever a week to fire him back up into your starting lineups, it would be this Sunday. Hear me out. The Colts are playing pretty solid football right now, but this defense has been absolutely gutted in the passing game. They've been so bad, as a matter of fact, that opposing quarterbacks have a massive and a league-high 7.4% passing touchdown rate against them, with 23 scores allowed through the air and a 69.3% completion rating with 8 yards per attempt allowed. Hell, Josh Johnson torched them for 317 yards and 3 touchdowns in a relief effort last week, and very few quarterbacks have struggled against this matchup. So even Trevor Lawrence, who sprained his ankle last week but is still expected to play on Sunday, could be successful in this spot. It hasn't been pretty, but Marvin Jones still leads the Jaguars with a 23% target share, 31% share of team air yards, and targets inside the red zone with 7 and at the goal line with 4. So whether Jacksonville is playing from behind or their defense keeps them competitive like they did against the Bills, Lawrence will have to turn to the aerial attack. And the Colts have actually been a massive pass funnel defense this year. Now, this is insane. 92% of touchdowns they've allowed to opposing offenses have been through the air. That's 92%. So turning to someone like Jones could pay big dividends in this matchup. I don't like including quarterbacks in here most of the time, but if you're streaming them week to week, dealing with a possible Kyler Murray absence, or have someone like Joe Burrow on a bye, Teddy Bridgewater could actually be your guy. Now, it doesn't feel great talking about streaming Bridgewater, but the Eagles secondary has been allowing some egregiously high efficiency to opposing passers this year, to the tune of a 75.5% completion rating, good for dead last in football by a mile. And they could possibly be down 2 starting corners for Week 10 too, which would only bolster Bridgewater's appeal at home. Denver has a nice 24-point implied total and should have all of their pass catchers healthy for the first time in a while. With Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and Noah Fant expected back in the mix, this could be a deadly matchup for the Eagles, who don't get killed much on the deep ball, but simply can't stop teams from methodically driving the football downfield. I like Jeudy and Fant for this reason too, especially Fant. Here's why. No team has allowed more targets, receptions, and touchdowns to tight ends than the Eagles this season, and only the Chiefs have allowed more yards. So it should come as no surprise to anyone that Philadelphia has ceded more fantasy points to tight ends than any other squad. Bridgewater and his pass catchers, specifically Fant, could be in for a really nice day at Mile High. You guys already know this, but start James Conner this week. Conner was already getting all of the goal line work for Arizona before Chase Edmonds went down with a high ankle sprain, but now he'll be used as a pass catcher too. We got a glimpse of his possible workload last Sunday when he had 21 carries and caught all 5 of his targets for 77 yards and a 45-yard touchdown. He finished with 3 total touchdowns on 26 touches and 173 yards from scrimmage. As a matter of fact, it was the 3rd best fantasy performance from any running back on the season. And while we don't expect him to replicate this on Sunday, there's still no doubt that we'll want Conner in our lineups. Conner is 5th in red zone carries and 3rd in goal line carries this year, and leads the league in touchdowns inside the 20 with 10. So while the expectation is that Eno Benjamin will get some additional work in the backup role, Conner should still be in line for a really heavy workload. I mean, think about it. He was already 16th in carries and 2nd in touchdowns before the Edmonds injury. So it's difficult to believe Cliff Kingsbury would just randomly decide to decrease his touches in favor of Benjamin. Another 20-plus carries with all of the goal line work and an expanded role in the passing game could legitimately be in the cards for Conner this week. And we could easily see him as a mainstay as a top 10 running back until Edmonds returns. Appreciate you guys watching. As always, of course, head over to Awesemo.com. Check out everything we've got for sports betting, DFS, and of course, fantasy football. All of this headed up by the #1 ranked DFS player in the world, Awesemo himself. We'll catch you back here for the next one. Peace.